God. Praise Jesus. It's that time of the year when we begin to think about New Year's resolution. We thank God for this beautiful year that He gave us. We thank God for His faithfulness. It has been a crazy year. It has been a difficult year, an year where we were not so sure how it was going to look like. But looking back, we can see the faithfulness of God, because the Lord has brought us from one level to the other and the other. The Lord has protected us. The Lord has been there for us to provide for us. He has watched over us. It would have been worse if the presence of the living God was not with us. It would have, I don't know what we would be if the Lord was not with us. And so we have a reason to worship God. We have a reason to thank God even as we prepare to close this year. Because even though it has been difficult, the Lord has been there for us. The Lord has brought us this far. And so as we begin to think about this coming year, let me take us to a place of what we are in. We are in the middle of festive season. And one thing that people do when it is festive season is to plan. They plan and think through and work hard. They work hard to achieve the things they want to achieve, and the resources they need for them to have a beautiful festive season. So in the same spirit of working hard, in the same spirit of saving and planning, I want us to, usher a new year with the same spirit. But before we do that, before we think through next year, I want to invite you to read with me the book of Philippians chapter 3 from verse 12. This is a familiar passage which is very well known to us. Philippians chapter 3 from verse 12. Come with me. So that I have already, not that I have already obtained all this, or have already been made perfect, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead, I press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenwards in Christ Jesus. The word of the Lord. So the title for my message this day is Goal Setting. And I know when you hear this, you're wondering, you're like, what does goal setting have to do with Christianity? It has all and everything to do with Christianity. And so, looking at that passage which we have just read, we see someone who had, Paul, who was a prophet, an apostle, and a great one for that matter, had a goal. He had goals. He didn't just live anyhowly. He didn't just do ministry anyhowly. He had a goal. And so there are 5 questions that I want you to write down. 5 questions that I want you to write down. Question number 1, what do I want to do? Number 2, and this is what do I want to do for this coming year and the years ahead of me? Number 2, what do I want to be? What do I want to be in the coming years and in the year 2021? 3, what do I want to see in myself, in my family, in my marriage, in my working place, in my business? What do I want to see? Number 4, what do I want to have? What do I want to own? What do I want to achieve in the coming years? And lastly, where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? Where would I want to reach in the coming years? So I believe you've written those questions down. So the next thing that I want you to do is to answer those questions by writing down. Answer those questions. So, for example, the first one, what do I want to do? So ask yourself, in 2021, what would you want to do with yourself as a family, as an individual, in your ministry, as a Christian? What do you want to do? And then, so after you have answered all those questions, now the answers will form part or will become your goals for the next 1 year or for the next 5 years or for the next, many years to come. So after you have answered those questions, one thing that I want you to do, to note, is that there are short-term goals and long-term goals. Now, short-term goals are like, for example, wanting or thinking of or planning to lose your weight in the next 5 years, in the next 5 weeks or something like that, in having an intention of losing weight for the next 5 weeks. That is a short-term goal. Or having an aim of fasting for the next 21 days now that it's January is soon coming. By the way, it's January is a good month for you to fast and pray for the coming year. So, like planning to have a 21 or a 7-day or a 3-day fast, that is a short-term goal. Now, a long-term goal is where you have a plan of going back to school to do a degree, or maybe to own a house or something like that, or maybe, to start an organization or a company. Those are not things that you can just do. That will need time, planning, resources, and everything. So now you know about 2 types of goals. And remember, there are those 5 questions, and I believe you have already answered them. And those will form part of your goals. They will form part of your goals. So after you have answered those questions, now the next thing I want you to do is to look at those questions and ask yourself whether, for example, if your question number 1, what do you want to do with yourself? If, for example, your answer as a Christian was that I would want to join a choir for this coming week, ask yourself, is it doable? Am I a good singer? Will I maintain the practice of going for choir practice? If, for example, your answer for question 5 was that I would want to go to Israel by the end of this year, then ask yourself, is it viable? Is it possible for you to go to Israel by the end of this year? Now, if, for example, you ask your question, the question number 3, you answered that I want to see us having a mansion of 7 bedrooms. Ask yourself, so after having a 7-bedroom house, what next? So ask yourself whether the answers that you have recorded, that you have written down, whether they are smart enough, whether you will benefit from them, whether they are achievable, whether you will, whether they are viable, whether you will benefit from whatever it is. If, for example, one of your answer was to buy a car, ask yourself, so after I bought that car, so what do I really need that car? If, for example, one of your answers was that I need to go back to school and do this kind of a degree, ask yourself, do I need that education? Or after I have done that degree, how will it help me? How will it be beneficial in my career, for me as a family person, for me as a Christian, for me in my life? Ask yourself those questions. And once you are satisfied and you are sure that the answers that you've given are smart and they will form smart goals, so the next thing is for you to commit them to the living God. And so when Paul writes that, he's writing that as a man who walked with God. He's writing that as a man who had a vision of what he wanted to be and what he wanted to achieve. And one thing that we notice from that passage is that Paul was disciplined, Paul was focused, Paul knew what he wanted to do, and he was sure that that was what was important for him. So it is important for us to ask ourselves, are those the things that we want to achieve? Are they important for us? Are they smart enough? Are they achievable? And things like that. And once we have done that, the next thing we should do as Christians is to commit them to the Lord in prayer. Commit them to the Lord in prayer. And as you commit them to the Lord in prayer, ask yourself, where will resources come from? What sort of people do I need in my life for me to be able to achieve these goals? What time do I need for me to be able to achieve all this? What habits do I need to cultivate, or what habits do I need to stop? What is it that I need to sacrifice for me to be able to achieve all this? Ask yourself that question. It's important for you to ask yourself those questions, and whatever answers you will come up with from the questions you're asking, like for example, what do I need to sacrifice? Like for me, one thing that I really need to sacrifice for me to be able to achieve a goal of finishing my education is to sacrifice time and sleep, and be that person who will wake up early to be able to write and study. So write those things down, and after you have written them down, begin to implement them, begin to work on them. And as you begin to work on them, track them down. And it's important for you to always take a comma, a stop, and review and evaluate and ask yourself, are you still on the right track? Are you still doing that which you're supposed to be doing? And once you have done all that, when you have achieved your goals, for example, your short-term goals, and you're doing very well, celebrate every milestone. Celebrate. And as a Christian, how do you celebrate? By praising God, by giving God thanks, by committing the rest of the journey to the living God. So one thing that I want us to know is that we can do everything through Christ who strengthens us, that there is nothing that is impossible before God, that our God is able to provide all the resources that we need, that we only need to commit them to the Lord in prayer. And so as we prepare to usher in the next year, this coming year, commit your plans to the living God. Commit those ideas to the living God. Invite God in your life and let him, take the center stage in your life. Let him have his way in your life. He's a faithful God. He never fails. He makes a way where there is no way. So commit that year to the living God. Commit your life, your family, your life to God. And, when we walk with the Lord, when we trust and obey and walk with the Lord, what a glory he sheds on our way. I wish us a blessed 2021 and more, many, many blessings for the years ahead of us. Happy New Year.